Welcome back, and today we are tier listing all of season 9 of Doctor Who from 1972. So the first serial is The Day of the Daleks, and this I'm pretty sure was the first time the Daleks appeared in quite a while, since they had been semi-retired after the evil of the Daleks. I thought it was okay. It got a 4 overall on average. I thought it was an interesting concept. It felt a bit paradoxical, people coming back in time to try and stop an event that they actually ended up causing, and the Doctor having to solve it all out and stuff like that. Obviously seeing the far future and the Daleks being back, I thought it was quite an interesting storyline, and I quite liked the idea of the peace summit at this house being attacked by Daleks just to take over the world and stuff like that. It seemed a bit, yeah, that's something they would do, fair enough. One thing I will say is that the Dalek effects up until this point hadn't been brilliant, because obviously there'd been 60s effects and it's mainly just been their little shooter thing going makes me giggle every time. But on this occasion they'd upgraded the effects somewhat. I don't know if it's the BBC doing it after as like a remastering. I was watching on iPlayer, I don't know if it's the remastered version. But the effect when the controller gets exterminated in this serial, I liked it. I thought it was good effect. But as for The Day of the Daleks, I think I'm going to put it in upgrade in progress, because it was alright. It was okay. I think that for the first Dalek story in quite a while, I would have liked something more. There wasn't much Dalekness about it. I'm pretty sure they only had like 3 Dalek props or something like that. There's some kind of story about them only having access to a couple of Daleks for the serial, but still I would have liked to have seen more of a story surrounding the Daleks rather than all of the humans. But yeah, I thought it was good, decent start to the season, no real complaints. And the MVP for the serial is ZV10 Manager. I don't think he has a name. Next up is The Curse of Peladon. So this one got a 5 overall, and while I don't think it was absolutely perfect, I really enjoyed The Curse of Peladon. I thought it was a really fun time, and the whole Galactic Federation thing is such an interesting concept that I wish it had come back in Who at points. I know there's another Peladon episode in the 3rd Doctor's era, and then the 12th Doctor's era in series 10, banging season, that brings back one of the best characters in that episode of series 10. So I know that happens, but I would have liked it if the Galactic Federation had been a bit more of a presence throughout Doctor Who. Kind of like how the Shadow Proclamation kept being mentioned in New Who, and then the Doctor visited like twice. It was mentioned quite a bit. So I did love, again, Jo being the amazing companion she is, immediately just took on the role of a royal. Was like, yeah, Doctor, I don't speak to these plebs. Get them away from me. She was brilliant. Jo was fantastic. She just knew what to do. But my issue is, right, okay, so the Doctor and Jo were caught on Peladon and just dragged into this royal chamber, right, okay, fair. But then these guys start going, well, I hope she's of royal blood, otherwise she's going to be executed, because women aren't allowed in here unless they're of royal blood. And I'm like, sir, you just dragged that poor bitch in there. She did not have a choice in that matter. You dragged her in there. So I have issues with the rules of Peladon, but Jo just straight away took to being a royal, and the Doctor went with it, and we love to see it. I also really liked Jo completely prejudging the Ice Warriors based on the Doctor's own prejudices. Obviously the Doctor has gone against the Ice Warriors before, but he doesn't know every Ice Warrior, and the Doctor was really prejudiced against them in this serial, and I like that Jo just took that on as well and made them her own prejudices, and both of them had to learn that no, they're wrong to think that way about every single Ice Warrior in existence. So I thought that was quite good, because that's how life works when you're presented with new information. It is okay to change your opinion on something when presented with new information. It's fine. Like, if you try an apple and you don't like an apple, but you can't say, oh well, I don't like fruit because I hated that apple one time. No, try an orange. You're allowed to update your mindset with new information. And I think this serial worked nicely to show that, because the Doctor and Jo both had to work through their own prejudices against the Ice Warriors to save the day. I love the look of Alpha Centauri. I love Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri is one of my favourite characters in classic Who. I don't know why. I don't, but he's He's just so sweet. I love him. Love him to bits. And he's named after his own planet. How cute is that? And also Arcturus, I think is how you pronounce the name. I thought he looked absolutely fucking ridiculous, but I loved the look. Sometimes Classic Who goes with green bubble wrap to represent an illness. Other times they put a shrunken head inside of a jar and it just works. Just bloody works. Also, I think this serial is proof. Finally, we have proof that I don't hate Ice Warrior episodes, because this one got a 5. I don't hate the Ice Warriors or their episodes, I just hate the ones where the Ice Warriors are the main villains. But I don't know why, it just happens. It's just the stories they happen to be in. But this episode with the Ice Warriors was really good and enjoyable. I liked it. And I like the development of their species as shown in the serial as well, that they developed past their grr phase of just fighting all the time and just decent politicians now, I guess. There was a fight scene in this serial and I just can't take it seriously. Any fight scene in Classic Who, I just can't take seriously. Apart from that one that Vicky was in, because that was awesome. Vicky fighting was great. Other than that, I can't take them seriously. I will say as well, I have a lot to say on this serial apparently, but the fact that the Time Lords sent the Doctor and Jo to Peladon to do their thing shows that the Time Lords are complete hypocrites. Hypocrites, the lot of them. They have this whole thing about not getting involved, and they were angry with the Doctor in the War Games because he was getting involved all the time, but they keep sending him to places to get involved. Hypocrite! Hypocrites! One last thing I'll say on this serial is that Jo and the King of Peladon had this little romance going on, and whilst I hate Classic Who romances because generally they're terrible, this one felt a bit more believable because they actually spent quite a bit of time together in the serial. It wasn't just a, oh, we're in love now. You could see it developing between them. I mean, the King just sort of fancied Jo from the start, but with Jo you could see it developing. I am glad that she turned him down at the end. I am glad that she turned him down and went off. Seriously, throughout Jo's time in the TARDIS, a lot of people want to marry her and she's like, nah, thanks, I'm good, which we love to see. We love to see a strong, independent bitch. I'm glad that she didn't stay on Peladon, but if that had have been her last episode rather than being at this point in her time, I wouldn't have been as mad about it. But yeah, I am glad that she didn't stay. So I should probably rank this one now. Now I've been chatting for about 10 minutes on this. So I'm going to put the Curse of Peladon into... You know, I think I'm going to put it into Uiu actually. Because, hear me out, it may not have got a full 5. It was an average of 5, not a full 5. But I think this one's a really great Doctor Who serial. I've been saying in my first and second Doctor season rankings which serial I think would be the one I would show people if they were to watch an episode of that Doctor's era. And I kind of feel like Curse of Peladon might be the one I'd use for the third Doctor's era because it is really good, it's really enjoyable, and it has all of this Galactic Federation stuff in it. It has loads of different species and it has Jo being amazing and the Doctor's there too, I suppose. But yeah, I think this is the one I would say would be the one to watch for the third Doctor if someone ever asked me which serial they should watch for each classic Doctor. So yeah, this one's going to go into Uiu. This one's a good one. And the MVP of the episode is Sorg and Alpha Centauri. I can't not give him MVP. Alpha Centauri forever. Next up is the Sea Devils. So this serial not only introduced the Sea Devils, but also brought back the Master and introduced his penchant for children's TV. Seriously, he was watching the Clangers and he thought that they were real, and it's hilarious. I love it. Kind of makes me wonder, when the Master in series 3 of New Who was watching the Teletubbies and talking about evolution, whether he thought they were real as well. This man is a super genius. And he thinks children's shows are real. I love it. I love Doctor Who. So I do have thoughts on this one as well. This one got a 3 overall. I thought it was a basic Doctor Who episode. It was quite fun, but nothing much to it for me personally. I did love the Sea Devils design. I thought that was really fun, and I liked the fact that their clothing sort of resembled fishing nets, which seems a bit more polluty rather than natural for them, but I can get by it. It's a good design. I like it. My question though is, why is the Master even in a unit prison anyway? Because surely he should have been extradited to Gallifrey, because the Time Lords told the Doctor about the Master messing around and said, oh, well, he's coming to Earth now. So why did they just extradite him to Gallifrey and put him in prison there? I think secretly the Time Lords just like watching them, their little tiffs. The prison governor, I have to say, is an absolute fucking idiot because he believes that his prisoner, the master, who is imprisoned on his own personal little island prison with UNIT, is a decent chap. Also, I love that the doctor immediately believes Jo. She says she's seen the master. The doctor finds no evidence for it, but he believes her instantly. He's like, yeah, okay, I believe you. Everyone else is like, no, because he's in prison. You can't have possibly seen him. The doctor's like, no, I believe Jo. She knows the master. She's met him before. He tried to sacrifice her to a blue demon god thing. And yeah, she knows him. Yeah, if she says she's seen him, I'll believe her. And that's why the doctor and Jo are a great duo, because the trust is there. Also, I just have to mention the sword fight. The sword fight, we love the sword fight. Well, I love the sword fight. In this serial, as I've said, the master is shown to have a bit of a penchant for children's TV, which I think is pretty innocent, to be honest. Because if you compare that to the doctor's thing, which is apparently eating other people's sandwiches. Like, so many times, right, I have seen the doctor just go, oh look, there's sandwiches. And he just, the second doctor did it with Jamie when Zoe was kidnapped, and he's like, oh look, there's a sandwich, let's just eat these in someone else's house. Someone's made a sandwich for themselves and we're gonna eat them. Dickheads. And then this one again, the doctor just eats other people's sandwiches. Seriously, rewatch Classic Who and count the amount of time that the doctor eats someone else's sandwich. It's criminal. Seriously, the doctor eats 2 sandwiches in this serial alone, neither of which were his. So, back to the main story of the episode. I do like that the Sea Devils did trust the Doctor when the Doctor tried to talk to them and make peace with them and get peace with them and the humans. They did trust him and they did say, yeah, okay, we'll ally ourselves with you and figure this out. I don't like when villains are straight up just, nah, fight. I prefer when there's a bit of talking and attempt at trying before you just go, no, I'm going to kill you all. It's just a shame the humans fucked it all up, really. The only real issue I had with this serial is that by the end, it was just a bit of a rehash of that Silurians episode from season 7. It was just kill or be killed and we're just going to do it. Even though there were people on both sides trying to just make peace and deal with the situation, there were also people like, nah, let's kill you all. It's kind of upsetting. But I think I'm going to put the Sea Devils... I'm going to put the Sea Devils into Wibbly Wobbly. Because it was alright. It was alright. I think it had a lot to do and it didn't quite pull everything off to my liking. So I'm going to put it in Wibbly Wobbly and leave it there. And the MVP for the serial is Jane Blythe. Next up is The Mutants. This story got a 3 again. I do think it was better than the last serial, but it's still got a 3 on average. It's a decent story about colonialism and the effects that has on the people, which is something that Doctor Who does quite often. I thought this one was quite interesting because it involved a very different species that has a different rate of, I'd say evolution, but it's not really evolution because it's a cycle that the species goes through and no one understands it because for them it's been so long and for these people they're trying to control them and it's just not what they want. So I do think that was quite interesting to have as a sort of backdrop for the episode, even though you don't figure that out to the end, so sorry, spoilers. The mutation itself was interesting to me, even though it makes no sense. You can't mutate over 500 years because these are people that have a human-sized lifespan and it takes 500 years for them to mutate across 4 different mutations and it's a big cycle. That doesn't work. That's not how mutations work. Also, the end result made them magical beings, and that was just weird as fuck. So, I think for the mutants, I'm going to put it in upgrade in progress. Because, again, it was okay. I just think it was a bit odd. And the whole magical being thing as the end result of their mutation was too weird for me. I don't like it. I don't like it. And the MVP for the episode was Cotton. Next up is the Time Monster. So the Time Monster got a 4 overall, and I do think it was a bit of a mixed bag of episodes again. Now, if I recall correctly, most people don't like this episode much, but I thought it was quite fun. I thought the story itself was interesting, and the events that happened to make the story go along all seemed to fit, and I quite liked it. Kronos did look ridiculous, not gonna lie to you. Not Kronos, but the bird version of Kronos. The person in the fluffy wing bird suit, it just looked weird, but I liked it. This, I think, is actually a better version of that end episode of Flux, because when Time decides to talk to the Doctor at the end, which makes no sense to me at all. Don't get me started on that whole episode of Flux. Kronos is the one who does the talking in this episode, the actual god of time and whatnot, talks to the Doctor and the Master right at the end of the serial, and while it's weird, I think it works there far better than it does in the Chibnall era. Kronos over time, I think. I do like the idea that the Doctor's TARDIS being in the Master's TARDIS makes everything go haywire. It felt really quite fun and bizarre, and I do like it. I think it was quite fun. Part 4 of the serial is the only episode that I gave a full 5 rating to, and I've got to be honest, that had to be the inspiration, at least a little bit, for the Curse of Fatal Death, right? It had to be. It just had to be. There's an entire scene where the Doctor and the Master are just trying to one-up each other. And even Jo says the Doctor will explain later in that there's just so much in that one part alone that is Curse of Fatal Death coded. It's got to have been the inspiration for the Curse of Fatal Death. It's got to be. If it wasn't, I don't know what to tell you, because it was. In part 5, however, Jo is an absolute queen and we love to see it. Speaking of Jo though, she gets a new dress at one point in the serial and her hair magically grows to about hip length, and I don't understand how that happened, but I want that fucking dress now. It's weird. It looks lovely, but it's weird. There's no explanation given, and I don't know why they'd stick her in a wig and just assume that we'd all accept the fact that her hair just magically grew for a few minutes. And while we're on fashion, this whole season has been the season of the go-go boots, and I love to see it. I love go-go boots. I think they're such a great fashion, and I wish that they would come back in full force, because I love go-go boots. They're just brilliant. I love them. And this season was the season of the go-go boots. My last thought on this serial is that the Doctor, the Master and Jo are all knocked out at one point when Jo does some tricky things in the Master's TARDIS. And I liked the fact that Jo was the first one to wake up, because Time Lords in general are so OP. Back in the first season of Doctor Who, the Doctor and Susan were basically just humans with an extended lifespan. But as time's gone on, Time Lords have become overpowered, and now in New Who, they are just so incredibly OP, they're basically superheroes. I don't like it. I'd rather they just be humans with an extended lifespan and maybe a few little quirks. I don't think they need to have all of these different power sets. It's just weird to me. So I do like the fact that Jo waking up first kind of makes it seem that the Time Lords are a bit more normal and less OP, because if that was New Who, the Doctor either wouldn't have been knocked out at all, or he would have been knocked out for 5 seconds and then woken up an hour before everyone else. So I like the fact Jo woke up first. It's a small thing, but it's worth mentioning. So overall, I think I'm going to put the Time Monster. I think I'm going to put it in Upgrade in Progress. Yeah, it's going to go in Upgrade in Progress. It was a decent serial. It deserves it. It's fine. And the MVP for the serial was Dr. Ruth Ingram. But that is my list. That is season 9 completely ranked and, well, tier listed. It looks a bit of an odd season looking at the list because there's nothing in Fantastic at all, but there is one in Uyu, so maybe that makes it work. It seems a bit more middling this season for me because there's more in Upgrade in Progress and Wibbly Wobbly than anywhere else, in that there's none anywhere else. But I do think the Curse of Peladon brings the whole season up. But yeah, that is my list. So there were a few quotes that I could pick out for this season, but I think the one I'm going to go with is one that's just a fun one. It's between Jo and the Master, and Jo says, "That's the most cruel, the most wicked thing I've ever heard." And the Master says, "Thank you, my dear." I just like that one. So season stats, the most common score for the season was a 4, and the average score overall was a 3.58. But that is my list for season 9. Did you agree with my choices? Did you disagree? Let me know if you think Curse of Peladon deserves to be in Uyu, or if any of the others deserve to be higher in Fantastic. So that's my list, and I'll see you next time when I tier list season 10.